with Home Helpers Pro. We're going to change this electrical outlet with the USBs out for another one that we just don't like. So in order to do that, we have to take everything off. First, I'm not going to unplug this one because this is the pet safe monitor and it will cause the pet safe to beep throughout this video. As is true with any project, safety is paramount. So we have to make sure that we turn off the power for the kitchen. Should be this one. We're going to replace this other model with the Smart Electrician from Menards. That is the pet safe that's beeping. It's supposed to do that. You can test that you have the breaker off, both because the LED for the GFI is out, and this is certainly running parallel off of that. Comes in after the GFI, and the test will not work, neither will the reset and the LEDs out. We certainly don't have any power. These 4 screws will be reused later. Keep them, don't lose them, they're tiny. It is an important detail. These screws hold the actual outlets in. A Phillips screwdriver may work as well at this step, but the flathead is mandatory for the plate screws that we just took out. Just grab it and pull. There's a ground screw on the bottom. Sometimes they're on the top, depends on which way the outlet's installed. Takes a little bit of tugging to get those out. The screw loose, I mean. The screw loose. This is the black hot wire. If the breaker was on, this would be live. It would be the most dangerous one. Needle nose pliers make that wrestling match a lot easier. Not that much easier, apparently. Be careful you don't grab too hard, that you pull the insulation off or tear through it. Same thing with the white one, and very likely the same wrestling match. This one's neutral, and if the power were on, wouldn't really have any electricity going through it, but touching this one and the black one at the same time will give you an electric shock. It will not now, because the circuit's off. Here's our new one. Take these screws loose. There's an option to clamp them in here. You'll see that there's a notch in there for the screw to go in. This one's labeled hot. The other one was labeled hot active, and this one says white, which makes it a little easy when it says white to determine which one to plug in there. The hot one is the black one, remember. And in this instance, since we're going to be connecting them straight in, the curves, the loop on the end of the wire isn't necessary. So you can straighten them out like that. The thing about that is that's a little bit too much wire to stick in there for a straight wire application on the back of them. So nip just a little bit off You don't have to do this, but it's safer because it's much less of a chance of the wire getting touched off on anything else if there's less insulation exposed. I've taken all the screws loose. The ground wire will still be a curve. It doesn't have a place to stab into underneath the wire. So I'm going to straighten out the white wire now. And cut it back just a little as well. Little piece of wire. The other one went right here. There's a trash can right there. White, hot. Using gravity to help me pull the little clamping plate back by turning the outlet over so that the plate is being pulled down against the top of the screw. Similar technique on the black one. Phillips screwdriver can be used on this as well. It's not necessary. You can do it all with the one screwdriver. You just got to have a steady hand. And you can always bend your wire loop back around like that. There is an important distinction about the way the screw turns and the way the loop goes. The screw tightens down in this direction like this, and the loop on the end of my wire follows that same pattern, so that when I tighten the screw down, it tightens down with the curve and the turn of the screw together, which will actually draw the curve in tighter to the shaft of the screw. Good tight connections. A little bit of bend on the wires. The bottom one's up, the top one bends down, and you sort of dry fit it in there. Give it a push. The wires will bend. You just got to push pretty good on it. Each outlet usually comes with its own set of the outlet screws. They're held in place with little plastic clips to keep you from losing them until you get it installed, and even then you only lose them when you take it out and use a drill and you over tighten it. Now, something that I personally prefer is that the ground screw go down. Some people like them up. I think the electrical code mentions a preference that they be up, but it is not a requirement. I personally like them down. That's how I grew up seeing them. It's just what I like. Once you've got the screw started, it's rather easy to let the screw draw the fixture, the outlet, down into the wall and the box. You do want to have an idea that it's in there straight, and once you get the screw close to drawn down, where you can still move it a little, you want to fit it for this rectangle. There's not a lot of give in them, and since there's two here, I want to make sure that they're going to line up. Then it's a trick to hold this still while you tighten the screw down the last little way. You can't over tighten these, they'll bend this piece of metal that's on the end. If you do, nice fit. Somebody else put this one in a little bit crooked. It's sticking out on that side. The plate screws will line up right on the holes. They're all universal, as long as you have the right kind of plate. I like the extra detail of making sure that all of the screw heads slot are going the same direction and are level or plumb. And now we're going to go turn the breaker back on. Here's the old one. Just didn't like the brand. Restoring power really is just as simple as flipping the breaker the other way. Didn't think it needed to be on the video. It's that simple. There's a test for the GFI. That resets it. And let's plug the pet safe in so it can quit beeping. Let's not plug the pet safe in. We're going to turn the coffee maker on and plug the coffee maker in on this new outlet side and test to see that the new outlet goes out, and turn it back on. Plug the coffee maker in here and plug the pet safe back in. We now can plug in our micro USB and our lightning cable, and we can try that on this device. And it is charging, and I don't really have a peripheral for the micro USB, but being as the one side works, I'm sure that one does as well. Alexa's back with us. She's going to come online, and that will conclude how to change an outlet. Although we did a rather nice one, huh?